approach can be similar here. Will be the Kalista again, targeted towards aiming on the bottom side, and that bottom duo that loves so many of these different Kalista comps. Caitlyn once again banned, so we're going down the same path here. Wouldn't hate to see a first pick Ahri once again, and we might just have a complete run back here. And considering how well some of those fights could have gone for Liv Sandbox, on one hand I like it, but I also think the advantage you got on the bottom side of the map isn't something you're likely to pick up a second time around. So a risky choice here. Because now they could just pick the
Kai'Sa Hecarim.
Yep, Kai'Sa Hecarim again. Very easy. Run it back all the way.
Yeah. The problem is if you take the Hecarim, then they get Kai'Sa Ahri, which is also really oppressive. So, and it's Vickless Ahri. He's looked amazing on that pick. So it's kind of a rough spot they put themselves in with the bans specifically.
Now, remember last time they banned away the Xayah. They're going to pick this one up early instead of going down the Samira path. It's going to give them a little bit more staying power in team fights. It has a similar idea in terms of where it's going to be strongest through the mid game, unless you're ruler. But we'll see how well this one works out, because Viego going to be a very similar idea here to the Lee Sin. Can follow up on Ahri Charms extremely well, has a lot of burst and follow-up CC. Really curious to see where KT take this final piece, because yeah, I'd like to see just the Leona taken away. Now you make the Xayah Rakan lane a little bit less appealing. And they just pan it, actually, and straight up instead. It's like, they might pick this into the Leona, so we'll just pan it away.
Leona very much power picked here in the LCK very often. Teams love Leona. Wouldn't be surprised if they rate it as #1 in the support role. Haven't seen too much of the Nautilus tonight. We'll see if he gets any more attention here.
It's a little bit more of a commitment to CC with the Nautilus into these comps. It's a little bit scary. And I think that's part of the reason why we haven't seen it. But I think it would be very good for Liv Sandbox weathering the storm on the bottom side there of the Hecarim. So we see the Akali banned away. Vikla looking to take a completely different path this time around, despite Ryze being open. They don't want to try to use Realm Warps to control the map. That wasn't a huge aspect of the last game. So as I say those words, he hovers elsewhere. So I guess we'll wait until the lock-in comes through. Is going to be the Ryze again.
Yeah. I mean, if he just plays it safer in terms of how he got dunked on in the lane, certainly will have a better time, can have a little bit more priority, and potentially look for some more plays. We've seen Howling play the Tryndamere last time around, and he looked pretty good on that pick, as also Renata Glask will be picked up here for Proof.
Yeah, Renata works very well with both the Xayah and the Tryndamere. So a strong pick with her bailout. Her ultimate also going to be very good at champions that want to run at you and get themselves into that berserk zone. So do like this. On one hand, though, she is very fragile. And into the Leona, if she ends up getting caught in any moment, she will be blown up by the Kai'Sa, and there will be no bailout. As to match this Tryndamere, we are going to see Lee Sin from Rascal. Okay. So instead of going down the Camille path, we could have seen decide to take this route instead. We have seen a lot of players try to run the Graves into the Tryndamere, even though Tryndamere is somewhat considered to be the counter. But it's Rascal's Lee Sin, the only player who's playing Lee Sin top and finding success with it. It was much more common for him in round 1. But now you have a Hecarim, a Lee Sin, a Kai'Sa that can all in on a backline target. But considering the fact that there's bailout, there's also Berserk for Renata's ultimate to stop these targets from going in. Xayah can also Featherstorm away from this type of hard engage, and they have a Tryndamere who could side lane really well. You know, if you remove the nameplates here from both sides, I would be a little bit worried about KT Roaster's comp here. But it is Rascal on the Lee Sin. So yeah, we just want to trust it blind face up here at face value.
Yeah, it's definitely not too easy to fight into this, especially with a couple of disengage champs picked towards the end, the Xayah and the Renata, that were down there on the bottom side. And, you know, you're going to have charms flying everywhere. The Tryndamere will be pretty awesome if we do get to a later stage in those team fights. Whereas here on this side, a lot of it is about just going on in and engaging. So we'll have to see if they can pick the right targets. I really do like the Lee Sin and the Tryndamere, by the way. You can disengage very nicely. You can ward off, you can kick them away. If you want to re-engage, you have options as well. We'll see how that goes for Rascal in the top side as we hop onto the Rift here for game number 2.
You know, interestingly, Valdez, when I think about this comp too from KT Rolster, especially with the addition of the Lee Sin, it's kind of in a way saying, I don't think you guys are coordinated enough to deal with this. A lot of really great coordinated teams would be able to shut down what KT's dive is looking to do, would be able to kite around, use the utility that 1010's going to be able to offer, all the counter CC, the Renata ultimate, timeout getting that bailout through. But will Liv Sandbox be able to outplay this is the question. I think KT are saying that the answer is no. I don't think you guys will have the coordination to pull this off. And Rascal just loves to play Lee Sin. There's also that. So, you know, let's wait and see how this goes. But it could be fireworks in this game. Like, it's going to be a very volatile game. Lots of explosive team fights. Lots of team fights that will not go very long. It will be ending in, you know, less than 5 seconds a lot of the time.
We didn't mention it in game number 1, but now that it has been highlighted so nicely after game 1, Cuz decided to break Chronicler's heart, and yeah, he went for Phase Rush, and he will be going tank this time.
I think with Azaya, it makes more sense to do this time around, but as much as I love Conquer Hecarim, Phase Rush is pretty good. It's not as fun, but very good. 1-0 on this champion is Cuz.
5-0 total now.
Yeah, so just highlighting that that was actually his first opportunity to play it so far.
Yeah, generally, you don't ban Ballista or Jinx or Aphelios, you ban away the Hecarim if you're not going to first pick it, but Liv Sandbox have gone down a different route, and that has allowed Cuz to pick this up twice in a row. Hecarim, in my mind, I don't know, he might be the strongest champion at the moment.
There's a lot. There's a lot of those, though.
Yeah, especially out of the ones that don't always get permabans, I should say. Kind of like a little disclaimer there.
Sure. Yeah, I think that we've also kind of moved somewhat away from permabans in the LCK2, which I've loved. That because sometimes in the LCK it's like literally the same 6 champions burned on your screen. You don't even have to watch that part of the draft. But we've seen a lot more team-specific drafting as of late, which I do really like to see. And for me, I think the strongest champion in the game might either be Nautilus or Ahri, but like Hecarim's definitely in the list. They're all S tier. As a handshake will connect. And it's just a handshake, that's all.
Nothing to see there.
It was a firm handshake, though,
yeah.
Valdez.
No agreements. No agreements. No contracts were written up or anything, but they did shake hands before the meeting. Nothing incredibly deep on that.
If there were
one.
2 world leaders, there'd be a lot of photo opportunities to be all over every news site.
Yeah. And a very firm handshake at that.
Yeah.
A lot of tussling and stuff like
Maybe
that.
an awkward smile as well.
Perhaps a wave with your other hand, too.
Yeah.
I think that's it's pretty good.
Maybe one hand on the back.
Uh-oh. He's okay. If he had Ignite, though, 1010 could have put the pressure on.
Yeah, he's also got to be careful not knowing where Cuz is right now without having his ultimate either. He does have Flash.
It's about to see him.
Yeah.
Which is very good information.
It's massive. Ooh. Still the best Lee Sin top in the LCK. So.
Yeah, that one play didn't change much.
If the observers just panned a second later, we would never know. We'd be none the wiser.
Mm-hmm. Jonas Strong has all the power, actually.
He just doesn't miss anything, does he?
He can shut off the stream if he wants to. No, he actually can't, but he could probably just put the camera in the corner if he wanted to. Here's Hambach on the bottom side looking for a potential gank, but there is a ward that spots him, so Aiming and Life just defensively position. Looks like Liv Sandbox spotted that out, or at least were able to sniff out the fact that he was on a ward, and you don't want to get counter ganked by Cuz, so they will just back away.
Yep. Careful plays here in this early game. Not as much of a game where Liv Sandbox need to get ahead as last game, right? Last game they were running the Samira comp with the Renekton, and there was not a lot of follow through or fallback, as long as you get away with it. And in this game, you have the fallback of really strong side laning with the Tryndamere. You have the fallback of Xayah can also be relevant in the late game in a different way than Samira. She's not just a wombo combo Beyblade. She has a lot of burst potential and can, you know, front to back to a certain extent. If she's got enough good setup, she can help burst down a target, even in the late game with the RE Charm coming through, the Fall of Viego stun. There are ways this comp works for Liv Sandbox in the late parts. And interestingly, because of the Lee Sin top pick, you know, you could argue that KT's doesn't actually work as well in the late game. We have pick potential with that, but not a whole lot of damage coming out of the top side, not the same level of side lane you're going to get out of the Tryndamere either. And it's going to be tank rise, so missing a damage dealer there.
Yeah, it's essentially going to be all up to aiming in terms of doing the majority of the damage in the later stages of the game.
And he cannot build an AP this game. As you can see, going for a Dirk early. Not going to be going that route. I suppose you could do it, but just need to be doing more consistent damage in front-to-back team fights this time around. Rascal, level 6 here.
Uh-oh. Q lands. He is going in, but, you know, Ghost and Flash available right now for Howling.
I love it, though, because he has the kick pressure, and he also knows that Howling can't hit 6 that far away from the minions.
Yeah, Howling plays it well, just waits. And then the wave comes into him. He does hit level 6.
Early Dirk for aiming, by the way, and Cuz is here on a control ward. They might actually look for a big play here.
Yeah, a bit of a 3-on-3 perhaps. In goes the Leona trying to get this going as the two junglers spot each other. Stun will land on to aiming. And both sides just going to handshake that and say, nope, no thank you.
Yeah, that was a really nice counter gank timing for Hambach. Tenten's here. Realm Warp committed, though.
Okay, a little bit broken up as Cuz goes straight into 2, gets charmed up as he ults in. That is going to be the follow-up here from aiming as he is looking for the kill onto Hambach. Will pick it up first blood, but Tenten is going in onto him. We also have a 2v2 on the bottom side as Vikla is incredibly low. Tenten going to miss that dash over the wall, and that is pretty unfortunate, but Vikla is just going to be able to walk out of that one.
I think it would have gotten away even if he does make the Spirit Rush work a little bit better there, but either way, nice scrappy fight on both sides. The flash over the wall from Hambach there into chasing and actually looking for that kill was pretty cool to watch. As neither of these teleport. Howling.
Q lands.
He's got his ult, but there's so many minions here.
He's going to force it out. So the ult is on. Hambach is here too, and that might be the death sentence. The Q is going to miss, and now Rascal is just dead. Hambach able to scoop up the kill.
Yeah, with ult available here for Howling, you know, and the amount of pressure you could have put on by just simply not going in on the Q and trying to push him out could have been stronger there. Hambach comes over, and that Q missing, definitely being a little bit less one that we can gloss over than the last time that he missed his Q in the lane. This will allow not only the Tryndamere to get a little bit more control, but also will be Rift Herald going over, as this was such a cool fight. Hambach flashes the wall here when he sees the Realm Warp, and then they instantly turn onto Cuz. They aren't able to kill him, but they put him super low. So actually a really well-handled situation here for Liv Sandbox, because they know they have actually a lot of push on the bottom side of this fight against this Ryze that does no damage. So a really good snap decision there from Hambach, where he both escapes but then turns. As, yeah, this is a lot of minions here, but there's no, like, Cuz is nowhere to be seen. And so Howling having ultimate here means he could pop it before this execute comes through. He hits it in the animation, so Rascal can't kill him before he presses R. And then Hambach comes over, and that's all she writes.
Yeah, just the fact that Hambach was there means that he dies. If it's a 1v1 with Ignite especially, probably would have gotten the kill. Either way, we're going in on the Xayah, and here's Cuz once again, the flash and the Feather Storm. Will it be enough is the question. In goes the Kai'Sa. He autos the turret. And that's going to be the shutdown. Envy gets bailed out, as unfortunately this time around aiming will not get the value out of the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, this is really going to hurt. And now you've given over this Drake on top of a failed attempt to get a solo kill on the top side of the map for Rascal. So they get Drake and the Rift Herald and kills bottom side, and there's no play you can make here as KT rolls to the punish or stop this. So much of a tempo advantage here. Again, with a composition that arguably has a lot more power later on in this game. It will, a lot of it, of course, be about execution. But getting a Xayah ahead early like this is so fantastic, as this is a bait attempt, or not a bait attempt, a setup here in the bush, a bush attempt, I should say. As Cuz comes down here, Envy, perfect Feather Storm here. And then when aiming ults in, He's bailed out. So well played by Proof, but then of course picks up the kill here to make sure he lives. Well played, man. Live Sandbox striking back a little bit here in this best of 3.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. You gotta like how they handle that really dire situation, right? And aiming, flubbing a little bit there on the play as well. But either way, you'll take those. Hambach in the right spot, down on the bottom side for the 1 gank. Up on the top side to pick himself up a kill. Looking pretty good so far, I have to say. And we do have a nice little lead here for the side of Live Sandbox. It's not massive, but still early on in the game.
I think grabbing this Rift Herald into the mid turret, especially considering that Vikla is not in lane right now, is the easy call to make. You can grab a lot of extra gold for 10-10, increase his longevity, speed up his pace in this game, and also threaten later on this turret going down so that Ahri can actually flank a lot more aggressively, look for spirit rushes over walls, and set up plays around the bushes that are available here when that mid turret is down. So that's the choice they go for. And because it's a Kaisa on the other side, on the bottom side, and they didn't have a lot of control there for Envy, they decided not to put it there. You could argue there was an angle to drop it top side, but I think this is the best option. Also now Hullbreaker is done for Howling, so he doesn't need anybody's help. He's just going to end up starting to win this one on his own. Not a lot of plays Rascal can make, unfortunately, as Aleeson into the Tryndamere in the 1v1 alone. If Cuz comes over, there's some playmaking there. But he will no longer be looking for those solo kills we saw before. He's going to have to play a little bit slower, a little bit more muted. And every time waves are crashing into his turret, he's going to have less opportunities to make plays on the map. And with no teleport, he can't cross map, look for a play himself and then come over and flank with a really nice kick or anything like that with the Ignite he chose. Mm-hmm. So a lot of holes here for KT Rolster heading towards this mid game. Not the start we expected, again, because of the nameplates here. The Live Sandbox draft working out very nicely.
Yeah, I mean, the last series we saw KT play in where they did pick up their win, it was up against Hama Life Esports, and Hama did play quite well, made it an interesting series, and KT took down the 2-0 though. So we were like, okay, this is great. Vikla trying to bring this team to a win. Before that, they had to play against T1, so you can't really read into that too much because T1 are just kind of on another level right now. And now coming into this one against Live Sandbox, we were considering them the huge favorites, but a couple of games in a row now where they're just kind of slowly losing these early games. It's good play from Live Sandbox, but I think I expected a bit more from the side of KT.
I did too. I think some of the early mistakes here for KT were, I don't want to call them pride-based, but they were, I don't think that aiming goes in like that on Gumayusi, right? I don't think Rascal goes in on like that on a lot of the top laners we have in the LCK, a lot of different teams, but just expecting that he'd have an opportunity here. This is what I'm talking about with Hullbreaker. You're just going to be crashing them in, picking up the plates. No problemo. Nobody says no problemo anymore. I just went back to a 90s sitcom for a second.
Feeling pretty lame-o.
Lame-o. I was definitely lame-o. When people typed, when I first got like AOL Instant Messenger, when people typed LMAO to me, I thought they were just misspelling lame-o. Lame-o, like, well, you're such a lame-o.
Do you think they were just calling you lame-o over and over again?
Yeah. And they mostly didn't say LMAO. There were some bad words in that acronym. Most people just said ROFL or LOL,
True.
Do people even say those anymore? Is that still a thing? Or do people just type KEKW in the chat?
KEKW is the new thing, yeah.
People type KEKW in like chats where it doesn't even show up as the KEKW face. It's very strange to me. The world's evolving.
People just, Twitch is so large now that people just know what it means. I suppose. That's my take on it.
Yeah, no, video games are awesome, Valdez. It's a good thing.
Yeah. It is quite nice. Kind of what we envisioned for the future.
It's the present. The future is now.
Yeah. I'm saying, back in the day when we were thinking about the future of esports, where would we be? I wasn't thinking about saying KEKW all the time in person, but, here we are.
Well, it's an improvement over saying POG in person all the time.
I'm sure that still happens.
Yeah. Well, Howling's going to get this whole turret, by the way, just to go back to League of Legends for a second. And the turret that was damaged, they get this one too. So they're going to give up a Drake for taking out two of the most impactful turrets here for KT to weather through what's going to be an amazing 1-3-1 now for Liv Sandbox with the Ahri, with the Tryndamere. Getting these turrets early is so much more valuable than actually getting a solo Hextech Drake here. It's just not going to be as important. Now you have so much pressure on the map. And I mean, Rascal up here on the top side is Elisa, and he's like, I'm not a ranged champion, and I cannot really press E on these minions, so I would like some assistance. Or I will die, as well as this turret, because this is second Herald. So yes, aiming gets bottom turret, but what? The inner gold. You know, sometimes we have these vanishing acts here.
Interesting. Yeah, vanishing act of the turret. It is just gone. Aiming in a very interesting spot. He will be spotted now on his control board. And aiming did get a nice amount of solo XP and gold down on the bottom side. I suppose that's the one other win that KT gets, but absolutely Liv Sandbox will be happy with their current position. They're fine to give over the one Hextech Drake for putting more pressure onto the map. So now this is, again, you know, another test for the side of Liv Sandbox. They were able to get ahead in game 1, and then they kind of botched some engages in the mid game. Now they're ahead here in game 2. I want to see how clean they can get.
Yeah, the build here too for aiming is not going to allow him to front-to-back team fight very well. So KT are just kind of pricing themselves into, we engage, we kill, we win fight, it's over, and then we get the objective over it. Whereas Liv Sandbox can threaten fights on their terms. They have good utility into KT's dive. Don't think you're taking that one, Rascal.
Nope. We're taking this one, though. Trying to outplay the Xayah, who just hits the Featherstorm in the front here. Handshake as the Feathers go into life, and he gets burst down. And the rest of them are stuck in the fight here as well. As the Berserk came in, and another reset will go to Hambach, and a kill goes over to Hambach as well. A triple kill, I should say, as he, on the Kai'Sa, is able to take them all down.
Yeah. Very nicely played. You get those Kai'Sa stats, you got the chase, you got a ton of damage. Imagine a jungler that's extremely dangerous, who's in a great position because he has mobility, then he becomes a Kai'Sa and just does all of the damage. And that's what we saw at the end of that. Now 4 kills on this Viego. I mean, you know, not exactly where you want all of the money to be, but these are one team fights from Liv Sandbox in straight up fights. Again, somewhat defensively, they have a good setup. KT go for the engage, and you can turn so easily with the lead that you have. Because look at where we are here. Like, it's once again, what if it's a Xayah that you're trying to kill, and she could just press R? Uh-oh. You know, we talked about this in the draft, like right before we even got onto the Rift. This team has so much turn, so much utility between the Renata ultimate, the Xayah ultimate, and if you're playing this build from aiming and you're trying to blow people up instantly in the fight, and then they just press R, you can't just be like, well, I'll kite back. Like, hold on, we can get some people in here. Like, I'm going to front to back this. Not anymore.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were talking about earlier, where it's like, would aiming in life have just dumped 2 ults onto a Xayah who can just press Featherstorm and not even have to flash if it were not Envy? You know, like, I'm not really sure about these plays for KT. I think that they're just assuming that they will just win by pressing their buttons. They're like, no, we're just better, we're just going to win. But we've already seen a full challenger team, albeit it was DRX challenger team, the best one, take a win. So why can't the Liv Sandbox challenger team win? This is getting really close. Liv Sandbox have a pretty large lead now at this point.
Yeah, and just because you picked Kai'Sa here with no AP top laner and a tank Ryze in the mid lane doesn't mean you have to go AP. Like, you could also go for Kraken Slayer in this game, I think, and have a little bit more longevity. Play around the fact that you have strong engage, but also, you know, some sticking power with the Leona, with the Ryze. Be an AD carry who also is extremely mobile. Can both kill and blow people up, but also have, you know, more than a few autos worth of value in a team fight before you just instantly get all of your value removed by 1 ultimate or 2 ultimates coming out from Liv Sandbox. So, yeah, I think that the KT really made a statement with this draft. Like, we are so much better than you that we can win with this because you're not going to be coordinated enough to beat us. And after watching game 1, maybe you could believe that, but at this stage, as we hit the 20-minute mark, Liv Sandbox are going to take their second Drake of the game, and they have a massive lead. The coordination has been good enough.
Okay, second Q is going to land, as now it's up to Howling to try to survive. This time, Cuz is here as the kick comes in, and the Q is just waiting for the execution as the Ignite might just tick down, and it will. Rascal will pick up the kill As underneath the turret, NB does have to throw out the Feather Storm. Not sure how he got himself into that position.
Yeah, this was a little bit of it was a decisive call from Liv Sandbox, but it was also probably not the correct one to go straight for these two pushes without the mini waves. The second that they saw Cuz on the top side, and you'll see it when we go back to the replay, they pinged on my way mid, on my way bottom. They had Ari and, the three-man pushing mid and bottom. And they just decide, okay, we're going to grab these inner turrets because Howling will be able to buy enough time. But the rest of KT was able to just show up and defend. So a little bit of an overextension there. Losing the ultimate for Envy. Going to be okay because KT can't actually deny them a Drake. We'll have to clean up those waves. Be a little bit careful about that. It's super decisive plays at least. As you can see that KT here are rotating towards the top side. They want to push Howling out of this wave. They see the Xayah mid and instead decide, okay, no, in the 2v1, we're actually going to be okay. They go back to the fence. So watching the mini-map here, you can see the rotation from the Leona, from the Kai. So they stop that mid push. They're stopping the bottom push from the Ari. So Liv Sandbox aren't as able to make a cross-map play here. You see NB goes for it. Life has a really nice defensive solar flare, and they rotated over here quickly. If they were still on the top side trying to make that play happen on the Howling, then Liv Sandbox could deny them from leaving their jungle, and they probably would have gotten the turret. So just wanted to highlight the macro aspect of that more than the 2v1 on the top side.
Yeah, as we do see Liv Sandbox, even after the play, they are still in the lead here. It's not a huge lead, especially as the game does come along. And KT, I think after a couple of mistakes, big ones, I think they've got their head on straight now, and they're going to say, okay, let's try to do this straight up, take them seriously. We have to play from behind now and see where we can go from there. As the Nashor's Tooth now complete here for aiming. Looks like same build eventually coming in here as well. Vikla slowly getting fed. I think KT as well, they just want to slow down this game, try to farm it out, get that Kaisa online, get the Rise into a couple of items, and then go from there. We'll be curious to see how Envy and Howling can carry if the game goes later and later, because you would assume that, the Xayah and the Tryndamere will have a lot of value as this game comes along.
Notice the build here from 1010, as, he knows that he doesn't need to go for the horizon focus blow up the Hecarim that we see a lot of the time. In this game, he's like, no, there's a Kaisa running in at me, there's a Hecarim running in, there's a Lee Sin he will show it off. He's like, yes, in fact, I did build the Azonius Wolf.
Yeah.
Bit of a misclick there, nerves perhaps. But he picks it here because he knows that if he lives long enough, then he pops back out. He's got all the follow-up to turn these team fights for Liv Sandbox. I really like the choice of build here for him.
Yeah, could also go Horizon Focus third if he decides to go into that. Wouldn't be so bad, especially with the lack of penetration in this build. Something we definitely see as Rascal is behind enemy lines, but he's clearing a control ward, so Liv Sandbox is just going to say, no, we see you. And
Liv Sandbox
back out of this one.
Rascal?
He's going in there with Ari right near him as the charm not yet used. It is going to be dodged, and they baited them so far down the river. The Berserk already out here as well as 1010 goes way too deep, and he will be taken out this time around. Envy with Howling trying to get in there as a Feather Storm will respond to the Hecarim ultimate. Here comes Howling looking for a kill, but it's 1v4 at this point. He will get it, but he does get taken out as well. It's a bit of a 3-on-3 down here in the mid lane. You see Vikla extremely tanky at this point, and just like that, I think, Rascal kind of playing with his food is able to bait them in there.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those moments where, when we say rookie mistake, we actually mean a mistake from a rookie to go in there as the Ari.
True.
He used his ultimate for Lee Sin's basic abilities.
And flash.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. He used his ult, and then he was like, well, I have to flash for this. That's what a rookie will think. People will see that I wasted my ultimate. If I don't actually make the super play and flash on him and actually kill him, everyone will be like, oh man, remember when he wasted his ult there? I think that's the kind of mentality you have as an extremely young player who is mechanically gifted and is playing under pressure, and everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
When you use your ult in this exchange, and then Lee Sin is just like, well, I'm Lee Sin, I can just safeguard away. Then he's like, well, I got a flash for the charm. Misses the charm and is just pushed away.
And he gets himself in such a bad position off of that. I mean, if you just use the second dash and charm, you can dash away, but nope.
And then also the rest of his team decides, well, he's out there, we're following up. And this is when KT are right that the coordination isn't there to pull this off in moments like this, because Renata ults there and everybody just piles in and it's a big disaster. And suddenly KT back in this. They're not in a good spot by any means, but that was a pretty big win for them.
Yeah, kind of feels like KT maybe had a slow start to the morning, you know, didn't have their morning coffee or their morning routine or whatever. More likely, I think they were just taking it a bit easy against this Live Sandbox roster as Big Engage comes in, but it is Rise. Do they have the damage? Berserk comes in, but that stopwatch on Rascal is going to buy so much time. Huge feather recall. There's the flash in now from Hanbok trying to engage. Can he get the reset? He gets one. Now he's going in on the Leona, gets bailed out as well, and he's looking for more here onto Vikla, who was in the back there against two super low guys, and ends up realm warping himself out as now Cuz he once more, and a snipe comes in from aiming. So many low health bars, not gonna hit a second one, and not the cleanest fight, but
yeah, but at the end of the day, Live Sandbox are going to be able to rotate over to the Drake. Now, aiming is still at about a third health, and it does do a lot of damage. This is a risky start here for Hanbok, to be totally frank.
Yeah. This is not the play, guys. It's not even for the Ocean Soul. It's just for Ocean Soul points. Yeah, and the enemy jungler is here. Oops.
It's a soul point move here, and yeah, that's the wolf oops you got. I'm putting the oopses here in the LCK, because... I mean, look, this is such a great fight, though, for Live Sandbox, too. Like, the Charm set up here with the Renata ultimate, and Rascal has the stopwatch early. And Live Sandbox just kite back, fan out, and then go back in. Like, their comp has so much more staying power with this Xayah in it than the composition of KT. So aiming is like, oh, man, I'm just trying to use my W as many times as I can this fight, hit my Qs, and back off. He's pushed super far away. And then, you know, there's a little bit of an overextension here. But Live Sandbox still are able to get out, and then the follow-up is super good. But then they, over here.
Okay, we're going on in. The Baron will go to Hecarim. 10-10 going super deep once again. Looks like a desperate attempt to try to 3v5 them on the Baron and try to deny it, but that will just be KT picking up the big buff.
The real thing to like break down back there was the decision to go to Baron here, because yeah, this is the real replay, or Dragon, yes, yeah. Because this is a moment where you can, as Live Sandbox, actually sit back and deny KT, but you cannot start this with the low health bars that you have against this AP Kai'Sa, because you're going to get blown up if aiming doesn't miss. And his name is aiming, so what are the chances?
Well, you could aim and then miss all the time, I suppose.
And then those kills give KT with their respawns, Prio on this Baron, and a man advantage on the Baron. Tryndamere and Hanbok, Howling Hanbok, both on their way over still. Of course, Tryndamere teleportless, so you lose Soul Point, but that wasn't the issue. Like, you could have given KT the Drake for free to reset to actually then be able to contest Baron. Now KT have a gold lead and a Baron buff that should further the gold lead with all these standing gold that's on the map. And, you know, again, some decision-making problems here. Maybe this is KT's way back in this game. Remember, they so desperately need the 2-0 for their playoff chance.
Yeah, and looks like they might get it. I don't know how deserved it would be. I mean, I guess they get the win, but has not been a clean game from KT by any means. But they are beginning to turn it around as the charm will land. But again, it's on to Rise, and Vikla just doing what he does best. He's providing a front line right now for aiming to continue aiming down the sights and chunk Envy for half his health.
Yeah, he's just going to keep hitting those.
CD on that is like 4 seconds.
It's pretty low. As you can see, it's like 7. So
it's like 6.5.
Yeah.
Still very low.
It's very low, and it is you know, it's very strong, and he's hitting them pretty repeatedly here. So he's gonna do another one.
The Korean casters just every time it's just a groan every single time. We're back in Corki meta.
Yeah, there he goes again. It's like, no, it's okay, Caster John. You're not getting hit by those.
Oh man, I love the reactions.
Well, I feel like we don't hear the champions noise of like when they get hit, like but we get to hear the Korean casters get hit by it instead, vicariously.
I can't stop hearing that now.
I can't unhear it. I've just ruined the global broadcast. Now that nobody's going to watch us, everybody's just going to go watch the Korean cast. No, stay here. We're good.
It's okay. We can do it too.
We can talk about in the 90s over here, what 90s America was like, and they don't have that over there.
Problemo.
No problemo. Well, aiming is now peaked at 20,000 damage dealt and has gotten to the highest in this game. I still have issues with how KT approached this game and the AP build they chose and the position they found themselves in. But with a Baron buff, they have, like, without Baron buff, you can't just, as Kai'Sa, just press W on cooldown repeatedly and proc Ludens over and over and over again, nor will you actually have enough gold to have your Ludens yet at this game if you don't win those last few team fights that LSB Sandbox messed up. But hey, they'll take the advantages where they get them. They now have full control over this game. And they've got Drake Prio for 50 seconds spawn.
Ooh. Hecarim, very annoying for the Xayah, trying to force that up. Roof has to bail himself out, but he just gets taken down. Just a nice little pick there. Might even have another solo kill coming in as Rascal, he's looking for it. The kick comes in. He's like, nobody touch him. I need another solo kill. You can see, like, aiming is trying to get some damage down, but Rascal's just continuing to chase him.
I mean, they're giving map control up for this. Like, Howling is like, yep, I would like everybody to follow me.
They took away a solo kill.
Yeah. Well, at this stage, like, now you're giving free farm to the Ahri on the top side of the map. Like, Howling dies here, but he bought an insane amount of time.
At this point in the game, it doesn't surprise me.
Prove is coming up in a few seconds here. I don't think they'll be able to take this Drake fight, and they clearly decided that they're going to prioritize vision around top instead for the Baron buff that's coming up, which will be more significant. This is Ocean Soul Point now for KT Rolster. Ocean Soul pretty good into the Kai'Sa build actually here for LSB Sandbox if they had been able to secure it earlier on, but that's not the world we're living in. As this is the teleport that kind of starts this all off. Vikla down here to look for the pick on to Prove. And he tries to bail himself out here. The ultimate comes down, but unfortunately the rest of his team is a little bit too far away, and with Cousin Life in the middle of things, there's just no way that 10-10 can actually close the gap there and try to turn on those Berserked members. As, you know, I mean, LSB Sandbox, I think if they could get a setup here on Baron and they just hold on to it tight and look for a 5v5 fight, there's a chance for them to still take this game and bring us to a third one. It's just getting to the Baron pit right now is the hard part into this composition. But if they can, they can force a fight there, anything's possible, theoretically, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you 100-0 the Kai'Sa, I think you've got a chance. But we saw what happened in game number 1 when aiming got really fed, as this time he went for the death cap before going for completing the Zhonya's. Really like that idea.
And he got a stopwatch too, so he still has that stasis for what will be the game-deciding team fight. Same to be true for Vikla here, who also got Anathema's Chains. Really love to see that build here. Once again, the fight.
Ooh, that stun gonna miss this time from Hanbok. As now, just berserking on each other. You see that aiming will finally go in as Prove is trying to get the shutdown, but he will get taken down, and now the Kai'Sa has free reign. The front line comes in from Cuz, as Rascal's not even here. Rascal will finally come in, as we do see that aiming was looking for a bit of a pentakill. Not quite gonna happen, as the kick and all the CC will keep aiming safe. Not even going to get crit down there at the end. A quadra kill for aiming, and an extra kill going to Vikla, and KT should take down the game.
POG for aiming there in that moment. LSB Sandbox, their only other option was simply to just try to clear vision on Baron in the 20 seconds they had there and take a fight there. I would have preferred that than engaging onto a Leona who's extremely tanky, who has Eclipse. With a KT that can turn, but you know, they chose violence, Valdez. And it was not the right choice, as once again another bailout will fail. And I'm not talking about 2000s economy, certain countries of the world, but you know, every time we see the bailout, that's always what I think of. For some reason, too much politics in my life these days.
That's been ground into our brain as Americans. Down will go Rascal, and down will go the Nexus. GG.
2-0.
KT get the 2-0 tonight. It was not clean.
Yeah,
Let me be straight up.